Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well today. And today we are going to discuss a very important topic. But before we start discussing the same, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope you all are enjoying the Christmas holidays well in your respective cities and countries. Today we are going to discuss a very important topic, as I said. Well, climate change is indeed a real thing, and it is alarming for us humans to work towards the betterment of the environment to heal the planet Earth that is suffering due to the climate change in every corner of the earth of our planet. Every industry, every manufacturing house is working towards the sustainable goal today, but most of us are still not clear about how to form those sustainable goals, what comes under scope 1, 2, 3, which is defined by the United Nations and the Paris Agreement. So today we are going to discuss very basics about scope 1 and 2. What is scope 1, 2 and 3 under the sustainable goals, which is defined by the United Nations, that every industrial house today, every company has to follow it mandatorily. Well, corporations face today growing pressure from investors, advocacy groups, politicians, and even business leaders themselves to reduce GHG emissions, which is greenhouse gas emissions, from their operations and their supply and distribution chains as well. The nearly 200 CEOs of the Business Roundtable, representing some of the America's largest and best known companies, have responded by issuing a collective statement on their commitment to the purpose of the corporation, which includes the environmental performance related to sustainability. This commitment is seemingly backed up by action. About 90% of companies in the S&P 500 now issue some form of environmental, social and governance report, which commonly we call in companies and corporate houses as ESG goals, ESG report. Almost always including an estimate of the company's GHG emissions, which is greenhouse gas emissions. So let's understand the basics of what is scope 1, 2 and 3 in ESG goals, ESG report, and when you have to work towards the sustainability goals for within your company, your industry, your manufacturing house. So let's get started. The August 2021 report of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change warns that pollution caused by humans has led to an increase in extreme events such as heat waves, heavy precipitation, droughts, and tropical cyclone. Now, greenhouse gas emissions from global economic activity are at the heart of climate change, with atmospheric carbon dioxide already 50% above its pre-industrialization levels. However, it is a sad reality that ESG in its current form is more than a buzzword than a solution. Now, the problem here is the climate change is an existential threat to life as we know it, but corporations' progress in reducing greenhouse gas emissions remains slow, despite the time and energy companies spend on their ESG reports. Now, why it happens? The GHG protocol used by more than 90% of Fortune 500 companies for these reports has numerous basic accounting problems, resulting in a misleading picture. But we'll discuss on accounting problems more in detail in a separate video, as it is again a very long and tedious topic, but yet very, very important topic to understand. But I'll discuss it in a focused manner in a separate video. Right now, let's just stick to understanding the basics of what involves in scope 1, 2 and 3. Now, what is scope 1? What comes under scope 1? Let's understand this. Now, direct emissions from sources that are owned or controlled by a company, such as its production or transportation equipment, etc., which is controlled and owned by the company itself. Now, Scope 1 emissions are usually the easiest to measure when it comes to the ESG reports. But Scope 1 is the most relevant to companies that directly produce large quantities of GHG, such as fossil fuel, energy companies, mining, metallurgical, and chemical companies, also large scale agri-businesses as well. Now let's understand Scope 2. What comes under Scope 2? Emissions at facilities that generate electricity bought and consumed by the company. For instance, in India, the companies that consume electricity, or even in households, they maybe consume it through government or companies like Torrent Power, etc. Now, Scope 2 covered GHG emissions which are indirectly linked to the company's operations. Scope 2 are usually, like Scope 1, are easily measured and allocated to specific companies, unlike Scope 3. And I'll tell you why unlike Scope 3 in next few minutes. Now, let's understand Scope 3. What is Scope 3? Emissions from upstream operations in company supply chain and from downstream activities by the company's customers and end-use consumers. Let's take example of the stakeholders involved. It involves suppliers, vendors, outsourced agencies, third-party agencies, customers, end users, etc. Many companies, especially service sector, produce small amounts of Scope 1 emissions and high amounts of Scope 2 and 3 emissions. Now, there are lots of challenges faced by in Scope 3. Now, let's understand these challenges. What exactly we face under Scope 3, the challenges. Now, the protocol creators included them to encourage companies to exert influence over emissions that they don't control directly. For example, they could buy from or sell to companies with lower Scope 1 emissions and collaborate with their suppliers and customers to reduce GHG emissions along their value chains. But the difficulty of tracking emissions from multiple suppliers and customers across multi-tier value chains makes it virtually impossible for a company to reliably estimate its Scope 3 numbers. Now, consider the challenges faced by a manufacturing of car doors. For an instance, protocol for Scope 3 reporting requires the company to track all the GHG emissions from the processes of its upstream suppliers, including the extraction of metallurgical coal and iron ore, the transport of those minerals to a steel producer, the production of those sheet steel from the coal, iron ore, and other inputs, and the transport of that steel to its own production facility. Now, the car door company must also estimate the GHG impact of downstream activities, including transport of the car door to its customers, the automotive assembly factory, manufacture of the finished car, transport of the car to a showroom, and operation of the vehicle, let's say for perhaps 15 years by the end-use consumer. Now, estimating all those upstream and downstream emissions, especially for companies with long, complex and multi-jurisdictional value chains, introduces high measurement error, opening the door to bias and manipulation. Moreover, the Scope 3 protocol requires each company in a value chain to estimate and report GHG emissions from the same activity, which is not only inefficient but generates the duplication, as I was discussing before in the example, an obvious defect in any accounting system. Not surprisingly, many ESG reporting companies ignore the Scope 3 measurements entirely. But that limits any meaningful contribution to mitigating total emissions across their supply and distribution chains. So that's it for today's video. As I said, this video was all about the basic understanding the fundamentals of scope 1, 2, and 3, and especially the challenges of scope 3 under the sustainable goals that every company today has to perform, has to report as a part of their ESG goals. I hope you got some basic insights of the sustainable part that every company, as I said, have to report in terms of their value chain as part of their ESG reports. And that's it for today's video. I hope this was insightful, and stay tuned for many more such interesting videos. Articles, models, stories, case studies, and these kinds of insights and concepts related to management. I'll see you next week.